All right. Welcome, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started for our JA Job Shadow event. So hello, thanks for joining. My name's Charlotte, and I'm a programs manager at Junior Achievement. And then my colleagues Kim and Cynthia are also with us today. And we are super excited for this JA Job Shadow with Envestnet MoneyGuide. Envestnet MoneyGuide is a financial technology company. They create financial planning software that helps people implement and maintain investment strategies so they can meet their lifetime financial goals. They have 2 incredible office spaces in Richmond and have built such a fun, energetic workplace environment for their employees. It might involve some dogs. It might involve some weekly massages. We shall find out. So you are going to get a behind the scenes look at who works there, what it's like to work there, and what they look for in potential employees. So we're super excited, and we hope that you are too. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get going. Please turn on your camera if you can. We love to see your beautiful faces if that's a possibility for you. And the volunteers might ask for feedback or answers in the chat box. So feel free to type your answers in there. That's available today. The volunteers also might be asking you to use your annotations feature. So we'll teach you how to do that when that comes up. And then we know that you've been given some informational interview questions. We have a full 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for those. So if you think of any other questions during the presentation, please just jot those down. You can put them in the chat and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. We will be recording this. So if you enjoyed it, you can rewatch it. You can share it with a friend. And that recording will be sent out within 1 to 3 business days after the presentation. And the last thing before we get started, I want any students that are with us today, or if we have any teachers that students might be interested, to use the reactions feature to share an emoji if you all would be interested in winning $2,500. So it could be a heart, a thumbs up. All right, I see some party. So that's great, because if there are any sophomores or juniors with us, you are eligible to apply for our JA Future Laureate Scholarship since you're participating in this JA Job Shadow event today. So we're going to send your teachers information about this afterwards. So please apply if you're interested, and you could get a $2,500 scholarship. All right, that's everything I had. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to our folks from Envestnet MoneyGuide.
Thank you, Charlotte. And Soraya here with Envestnet. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. And make this bigger. Making my screen so I can see more of your faces. So again, I'm Soraya. I'm a lead trainer at Envestnet MoneyGuide. A little bit about our company. We are based in Powhatan, Virginia, which is a little outside of Richmond. If anyone's familiar with the Midlothian area or Westchester Commons, we're near that area. And we've been around a while, since 1997. We have under 200 employees, so we were a relatively small company, but we were acquired by a much larger company, so we have a lot more employees now, so we're part of that bigger family. We've been the leading financial planning software in our industry for 14 years. So like Charlotte mentioned, we help financial advisors that use our software help their clients reach their goals. And just like Facebook owns Instagram and they own WhatsApp, or Google owns YouTube. In addition to Google, this company Envestnet owns lots of different smaller organizations and companies. So you see with Envestnet, there's Envestnet MoneyGuide. That's one of the companies, but there's also Tamarack and Yodely. So we're under the Envestnet umbrella, and our location is in that Midlothian Powhatan area. And I would love if you can come visit our offices. We actually are giving a little tour today with my colleague Megan. She's in the office. She's going to show you some of the cool artwork and things we have there. But now that you know a little bit about our company, I want to learn a little bit about you. And I would like you to use the annotate feature. So at the top of your page, you should see options. And for me, I have an annotate button there. Let me know if you have a different view on your end, Charlotte. And if you click annotate, you should see an option for a stamp. So I want you to use any of the stamps, but just stamp one time. Are you a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior at your school? So at the top of the page, under your options, you should see the annotate feature. And then go to your stamps and choose one of those stamps. I like the heart. I'll kick us off and I'll say, I'm a senior. And you can drop that into one of those 4 boxes on the screen.
And for the teachers on the line, if you want to put a stamp in the ones that you represent so that your classes kind of make up.
Right, no participation. All right, Cynthia's there. Anybody else in here? Or you can type me in the questions area. Thank you. Yeah, Watson, we have seniors, more seniors. All right, so mostly we have seniors. I'll stop our poll and clear. Thank you. And I'll go to our next slide. So also curious, and if you don't want to use the annotate feature, you can type me in the questions area. But you, your students, are you considering traditional college, technical school, military, maybe going straight into the workforce? We have different folks here from Envestnet MoneyGuide on the line, and we kind of went different paths in our careers to get where we are today. So I'm curious which path you're interested in taking. We have a few for the technical school and apprenticeship, going straight into the workforce. Maybe you're interested in just learning to code and just going right to work, building codes, building apps and programs. We have some folks going to traditional college. So good mix here. I'll pause and clear our annotate feature. And I'll turn that off for now. We're not going to use that anymore in our session. But good to know. So with our financial planning software, a big part of building your financial goals is understanding your net worth. And your net worth are taking your assets, your money, your house, everything that you own, and you're subtracting out your liabilities. And those are the things, those are your debts, things that you owe, like your mortgage or your car note, or if you're still paying off your cell phone, those are your liabilities. And the difference between those two things equal your net worth. So we're going to play a game, and I want you to type me in the questions area. Which of these two celebrities do you think has the higher net worth? So we'll start with Kylie Jenner versus Rihanna. Which of these two do you think has the higher net worth? I'm looking for my chat. There it is. Where? Control H. Chat is missing. Jenna, you see the chat area? You want to read out what you see? Are people typing in?
I'm happy to do that too. So
yes.
Some people said Kylie. Kardashians.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Finally it popped up for me. Here we go. All right. So we get more Kardashians coming up. And that is correct. Kylie has a $700 million net worth. Rihanna has $600 million. And they both have those beauty industries, those beauty businesses, but Kylie's is a little as in $100 million more than Rihanna. Then we have Lil Nas X versus Billie Eilish. So both recording artists, both relatively new. They haven't been out too long. But which of the two do you think has a higher net worth? Type me in the questions area. And Lil Nas X, that's Old Town Road. For those of you who don't know, Lil Nas X, yeah, he did a lot of performances. He's been really big on the tour scene. Billie, someone said Billie Eilish. So Lil Nas X, his is 7 million. Billie Eilish is 53 million, much higher. So those who said Billie Eilish, you were correct. Her net worth is higher. And it might not be that Lil Nas X doesn't have a lot of assets. It just might be he has a lot of liabilities, a lot of those debts, and that will decrease his net worth. All right, so we got Steph Curry. He's been in the game for a while versus Patrick Mahomes, newcomer on the scene, but usually you get those big signing bonuses. You get a lot of assets when you first join. Who do you think has a higher net worth of these two? Jaden says Steph Curry, Zakir, Curry. Anybody else? Anyone for Patrick over here? No? You're right. You thought correctly. $100 million for Steph Curry. He's been in the game a while. He's been able to save and invest and grow that money versus $30 million for Patrick Mahomes. So that was good. Last but not least, we have 50 Cent versus Teresa from Real Housewives. So they've both been doing media for a very long time, years and years. 50 Cent, he has the power, he has the music, he has the vitamin water, but she does a lot of appearances and books and gets paid for those types of things. All right, so we got 50 Cent's net worth is negative $32 million negative. Teresa's is negative $11 million. So just keep in mind, you don't have to have a positive net worth. It can also be negative. So if you owe money on your taxes and the government's taking your money and your assets, or if you have a lot of debts, 50 Cent filed for bankruptcy several times. He's had several lawsuits, and that's taken his money. So just keep in mind, not everyone has a positive net worth. If you have a lot of credit card debt or student loan debt, it can also be negative. So that's what we do at MoneyGuide. We're helping advisors determine and build the software so they can help their clients have a positive net worth, grow their assets, and reach their financial goals. And we have lots of different products at MoneyGuide. So these are our 3 primary products: MoneyGuide 1, Pro, and Elite. And we have a product called My Blocks, which is more bite-sized, broken up portion of our product. And this is what those My Blocks look like. You can spend 5 minutes, you can spend 20 minutes doing some more basic financial literacy concepts. You might recognize some of these companies. These are some of the organizations or companies that use MoneyGuide. So I know locally we have, let's see, you might see Cetera, Raymond James. I know they have offices locally. SunTrust, USAA. If anyone's in the military or your parents are in the military, you might know USAA, UBS, TD Ameritrade. So these are just some of the companies that utilize our software. And within MoneyGuide, we have lots of different positions. So I talked about building the software and coding, and that's just one portion of what we do, and we'll hear a little bit about that. But we also have to sell the product after it's built. We have to train people on the product. We have to have HR. We have to have marketing and a legal department. So even if you can't build software, even if you're not coding, just know you can work at a company like ours and one of these other departments. So let's start off by hearing from Jordan, who is a developer at MoneyGuide. Hey, Jordan.
Hey there. Good to see all y'all virtually. Yeah, like Soraya said, my name is Jordan, and I am a software developer at MoneyGuide, which means I help write the code that powers our applications. And I have been working at MoneyGuide for about 3.5 years now. And I'm excited to talk to y'all because I actually learned to code. I taught myself how to code while I was a sophomore in high school. And I actually got my first paying client when I was a junior in high school. So I think it's a really cool time to be able to learn the skills and start kind of putting them into practice. So it's fun for me to get to share with y'all. And I know if some of y'all are already coding, you might already have an idea of what it's about. But for those of you who it's just a foreign thing, it can feel really like, how does one code? So I pulled a little video to hopefully help make it a little bit more understandable. So Soraya, if you could run that.
Yeah, make sure my audio is sharing.
You know what? I'm hungry. I could really go for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay. Do you guys think you can write down some instructions and teach me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah.
Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop some of the peanut butter out of the inside of the jar. Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto one of your pieces of bread with a knife.
No!
Squeeze some jelly onto the other piece of bread. Spread the jelly on the bread with the butter knife. Put your 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter and jelly sides together. Done.
I'll pause it there, Jordan.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so if you're watching that and you're like, what in the world does this have to do with coding? I totally get it. The reason I wanted to show that is it actually is very similar to what coding is like. And so if you picture the dad as being like the computer, the phone, the thing that you are writing code for, and the kids are the coders themselves. And so think about the apps or the websites that you all use on a regular basis. Maybe it's TikTok, or maybe it's Zoom, or it's Google Classroom, or Instagram. And you might think, like, if you were going to try to build that yourself, you'd say, okay, when a user clicks the heart, I want that to like the video. I want that to like the picture. And that makes sense. And you could tell me that, and it would make sense to me. But unfortunately, computers don't understand language quite like other humans do. And so we can't just tell the computer, hey, when someone clicks the heart, like the video. And so, like the dad in that video, the computer would just end up doing something ridiculous. So we have to write very literal, very specific instructions that the computer understands to get the product that we want, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, as the case might be, out the other side. So that's kind of my job. Is I've learned over the years how to speak the language and be specific and literal in the way that the computer or the phone needs to build an application. And so for me, a day at work can look different depending on what's going on. Sometimes I'm fixing bugs, which means there's something that's not working the way it should be in the application, so I have to fix that. Sometimes I'm writing a new application from scratch. Sometimes it's an existing application, but we want to add a new feature that a client has asked for. One of those client, all the logos that Soraya showed, they might ask for a new feature, so I'll help code that. And so that's, I can be doing any of those, and sometimes all three of those things in one day. And so it keeps things different, which is fun. One of the things I've really loved about working at MoneyGuide specifically is it's such a fun environment. I've got a great team of other developers that I'm working with. I can bounce ideas off and learn from them. And as it was kind of mentioned, we've got so many fun things around the office. If I need a break from looking at a computer screen, I can step away and play some ping pong. We've got a basketball court, a tennis court. There's dogs everywhere. And so it's a great place for me to just have a blast and still get to write code. So yeah, that's my job in a nutshell.
Thanks, Jordan. And once the program is built, then we have to sell it. We have to get it to those companies that we saw on the screen. And Jenny is on our sales team.
Hi, everybody. Nice to spend my Thursday morning with you. Really appreciate your time today. I have done this for about 3 years with Junior Achievement. I've been with MoneyGuide for close to 7. And so what I like to start with is talking about when I was in high school, similar to you guys. And Soraya is going to pull up a lovely flashback, throwback Thursday, if you will, of me when I was in high school. And basically, when I was in high school, my dad is an English teacher. And I thought that I wanted to be an English teacher. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, something with English and teaching. Then I decided I wanted to be a zoologist, and that's good, Soraya. Thought I wanted to be a zoologist. I'm terrible at science. I'm terrible at math. Great at English. There I am. That was cool. Look at that necklace. Super cool. Super cool. So when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be a zoologist. I applied to all these schools, wanted to be a zoologist, and decided really quickly that I was terrible at science and didn't want to be a zoologist at all. So moral of the story is to keep an open mind. Here I am selling financial planning software many, many years later, long past that necklace and collared shirt. And I'm selling financial planning software. So my job with MoneyGuide is that after Jordan and his team create this wonderful software, my job is to talk to the financial advisors. So all those companies that you saw up on the screen, I work with the financial advisors that work for those companies, and I help them help their clients. Those clients could be your parents and eventually you. So it's basically helping them to make sure that they're going to be able to retire, that they're being, cautious with their money and careful with their money, and that they're investing it in the stock market the right way. So my job is to sell the software to these advisors. And I actually don't really like the word sell, because for me, I'm more of a consultant. I really like to help these advisors help their clients because it's super important. So that is really what my job consists of, is just talking to advisors on the day, all day. I'm on the phone like 70% of the day, and I basically do live demonstrations of the software. I do like a Zoom meeting where I show them the software and we talk about how it can help their business. Really, really great job. I'm the only woman on an all-male team. So girls out there, never give up and don't think you can't do anything, because you absolutely can. So, really just have an open mind, know that you can do whatever you want. Sales is something I never thought that I would be in. Thought I'd be wrangling tigers and lions, but here I am. So any questions, feel free to ask us at the end, but that is my role.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And after Jenny sells the product, that's where me and Megan come in, and we actually train the financial advisors on how to use it. Because I know, like my granddad, he just got this iPhone. He doesn't know how to use it. He's calling me. He's trying to call me from his house phone to help him on his iPhone and figure it out. And that's how those advisors are. They don't know how to use it. They need help. So oftentimes Megan and I are doing virtual trainings and presentations and teaching them how to use the software. I actually studied financial planning. This is what I wanted to do. I'm excited to be in this space. But my colleague Megan actually had a different path. And Megan is in the office. I'm going to pin her So maybe you can see her bigger on the screen. There we go. Hey, Megan.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. So as Sarah said, I had a little bit different approach on kind of how to get into this financial planning world. I actually went to Virginia Tech and was a marketing management major. Decided that really wasn't for me. Of course, I decided this after I spent 4 years and graduated. So then I actually got into teaching. So I saw Powhatan was on the line. So I was actually a teacher out at Powhatan High School. So I did that for almost 4 years. And then I started here at Envestnet MoneyGuide about 7 years ago. So a little over 7 years ago. Where I started the training. So went back, got my CFP. So did end up going back and kind of getting that financial experience, but just took a little bit of a different route to get here. So as Saraya said, we're responsible for training advisors. One of my favorite parts of the job prior to COVID was the fact that we got to travel around the country to do that. So we got to meet advisors live in person, which was a lot of fun. And then obviously getting to see more of the United States. But while I'm here, I actually took a quick trip to the office so I can give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek as to what it looks like. So this is our entryway.
And one second,
so
Megan, if you're using gallery view, you can switch to speaker view and it'll make Megan bigger on the screen. If you take a look at speaker view, you can get a little bigger view. Thanks, Megan.
Oh, yep. So this is going to be our entrance. So some eclectic artwork, a very interesting chair we have here. So this is kind of our main hangout area. So you'll notice we have the ping pong table, the foos table. We have a kitchen. So usually that's pretty well stocked. So we have all our flavored waters. We get our sodas, things like that. You'll notice that door there. It's a game room. So we can play some video games, and I think we have some arcade games as well. This is one of our main meeting spaces. So it used to be that we held trainings here. However, due to the virtual nature of training, we actually have implemented a new Sling studio. So it kind of makes me feel like I'm Vanna White on Wheel of Fortune. So we are implementing that now. And then guess I'll go ahead and show you a couple more areas of the office. I won't spend, the whole time. So we have our putting green here. And then we have little just individual office spaces all throughout the office. So those aren't our actual, where we sit, but this is where we can meet with other teams. So just thought I'd give you kind of that brief tour. But with that, I'll turn it back over to Saraya.
Thank you, Megan. So we talked about building the software. We talked about selling it, training on it. But to tie it all together, we need HR. We need help from Kelly to bring in the best talent in the industry. So Kelly, please tell us what you look for when you're hiring at MoneyGuide and a little bit about your HR background.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly. I am the head of HR for Envestnet MoneyGuide. So my job is really to bring talent into the company and then help employees sort of navigate their career with the organization. So whether it's, issues with your coworker, wanting to talk about your career track, doing recruiting, helping with benefits, any of those things that may come up in your day as you're getting into the organization, it's my job to help facilitate those different stages of your career. I actually got a degree in psychology, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my first job out of school, I was a licensed cemeterian. So for 10 whole months, I sold burial plots and designed funeral markers and went to funerals every day, which was actually something I really enjoyed, working with the families and really helping them and communicating with them. But long-term, it just wasn't for me. Then I ended up in recruiting and from there grew into a career in HR. So I have been with Envestnet MoneyGuide for just about 6 years. And when I am recruiting for different positions within the organization, some of the things that I'm looking for are really those soft skills. Whenever we do interviews, it's looking for those people who are driven, you're confident, you're passionate about what you're doing, and you feel confident about what you're saying in the interview process. Whether it's, I don't know how to do that, but I can learn it. Like, I'm excited to be here. I want to do it and I want to learn it. That is as good an answer as, that you've been using it for 5 years in some cases. So really looking for somebody who has done the research on the company, who has, confidence in what they're saying, and really has a passion for what they're doing. At MoneyGuide, one of the biggest, we're very horizontal companies, which means we have a few managers and a lot of workers. So, and even the managers at our organization are responsible for the work. So we always look for people who are very, self-driven, take a lot of ownership of their work. You notice I'm not saying have 4-year degrees, have 10 years of experience. It's really for us a lot more about those soft skills. And so one of the things that I always tell students when I'm talking to them is if you're looking at a job description and you're like, I have like 75% of this, but I definitely don't have the other 25, don't hesitate to apply for that job. Because a lot of the time us, at the company, we are going, what is our perfect candidate? And we're putting that out there into the world, right? And hoping for that unicorn, that 1 in a million that's just going to fit every single job posting marker there. And that's not always the case. And it's often not the case. It's those people who have 75% of it plus those soft skills that we get really excited about bringing into the organization. So don't ever feel like you can't apply for something just because you're missing a couple of the qualifiers. And then the other thing I would say is if you do decide to go to a college, a traditional college, make sure that you are doing internships while you're there. Take as many opportunities you can to go to job fairs and internships. Because having that extra real world experience is going to be super helpful when you go out into the job market and try to get a job. And if you're not going into a traditional college and you're doing, an apprenticeship or something like that, you're already getting those real world skills, which is great. The place where I would focus is going to job fairs. Any job fair that you can find to go to practice like your interview skills is the best thing that you can do in that situation to be ready for when you do have that interview that matters and that interview that you really, really want that job for. So I think that's about all I have for just some quick tips and tricks for you. But happy to answer any questions that you guys have for us.
Yeah, I think it's a great time. Let's open it up. We have about 15 minutes left. So feel free to type us in the questions area. Charlotte, you think that's the best way?
Yeah, you all are welcome to hop on camera and ask a question that way. You can type it in the chat, whatever works best for you all. And teachers, if you want to ask a question on behalf of your classes, that is great as well. So either way. And I could also kick it off with one question for Kelly. Because everything is virtual now, do you have any tips or tricks for Zoom interviews or virtual interviews of any kind now that that's kind of the way that interviews will likely go for the maybe foreseeable future?
Yeah, sure, Charlotte. I think that's a great question. First and foremost, making sure that you have a space where you can take that virtual interview where you're not going to be interrupted. Because when you're doing that interview, they're thinking about that being your workspace. And if your 4-year-old, like mine does frequently, comes running into the room to tell you about something your dog just did downstairs, then depending on what the role is, it could be a concern that that's going to happen during a work day. So finding a quiet space where you can really take that interview uninterrupted is really important. Second of all, make sure that you're on camera. It shows that you're really confident in working the technology, that you are growing with the times, that you are confident in doing this, and make sure that you're on camera, you're dressed for an interview, even if you're wearing sweatpants on the bottom, make sure that you can't see that, but Jenny's got him rocking right now. So I think, making sure that you are professionally prepared for that interview and that you know how to use the technology. So whether it's get a Zoom license and you practice with your friends, or if, we use Microsoft Teams and you can download that for free. So getting on Teams and looking at what your camera looks like, there's a thing with Teams that's weird, where if you do it on your phone, you have to turn it horizontally. Otherwise, they only see like your forehead, even though you can see your whole face in the picture. So, knowing any quirks and doing a little bit of research on whatever technology you're going to be using going into that interview is really good too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Don't everybody jump at once. This is what I was talking about, guys. Be confident. Go in and ask good questions when you have an interview.
Well, looks like someone raised their hand. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Perfect. Thank you. I promise I know how to use my camera. I'm taking heed to your advice. I just don't have the bandwidth to support it. So thank you for your grace. I'm an educator at Goochland County Public Schools. So thank you all first for doing this. My name's Erin. And as I would gear this to Kelly, but I think to anyone on the team, especially as we prepare our students for the next chapter, and from what I think that what we just listened to you speak to, I feel like we probably need to start preparing them for interviews like Zoom, Google platform, whatever the platform might be that they're using. So I'm asking, is that a safe assumption that we need to be pivoting and preparing them? Not, I'm going into an office, shake hands, it's, I'm going into a virtual office. Is that fair to say? Yep. Okay.
Yes. So I think that's definitely fair to say. I mean, certainly don't discount those in-person interviews. And I think, some of it is the industry, right? If you're going to be a mechanic, you're probably not doing a virtual interview. You're probably going, right in there and shaking that hand. So those interview skills are still going to be valid in a lot of industries, and they're still going to be valid in a lot of places as things progress with the virus and vaccines and things. Offices are starting to open up again, and so you will have some of that in person. But I know from some of the conversations that we're having as a company on a whole, we're now doing actually quite a bit of interviewing and hiring in locations that are not here in Richmond. So we have somebody starting on May 10th who lives in Utah. We just started somebody last week who lives in Ohio. We have somebody who we're interviewing with this afternoon who's in Louisiana, another one in Texas. We actually have a few employees now in Arizona and Seattle. So, that is something. Before COVID, you had to come work in our office. That was a company policy across the board. You had to come work in the office unless you had something going on. And if the guy's coming to fix the washer, then you could work from home that day. But other than that, if there wasn't something going on, you needed to be in the space. So that was a really big part of our culture and our organization. And the fact that we've transitioned so far from that means, other organizations are as well. So I think those in-person skills are certainly still valid, but I would add some practice on virtual interviews.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have a question about what skills would be important for students to concentrate on in this point. So maybe juniors and seniors, since that's what I saw most on that slide. If they're interested in getting into the financial planning field, classes or internships. And I'll start with that one. So I was involved with FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America, and I thought that gave me a great opportunity to practice learning different systems like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. We had different speaking opportunities to practice public speaking, which is really important in our field, and being able to communicate clearly and concisely and effectively. So different organizations like that, it's really helpful. There are a lot of financial planning firms out there. Richmond particularly, there are a lot of financial planning firms. So it's a great opportunity to just reach out, tell them you're willing to help. There are some nationwide internship programs, but there are also a lot of local financial planners that you can go meet with and intern with. Even your local bank, you can go and talk to them about their financial planning program. So that's where I'll start. Jenny, Megan, you want to add anything there?
I would say, so even to this day, I'm almost 40 years old, and I still always question people, like they'll have this random job. And I'm like, well, how did you get into that position? So it's always one of those questions where you're like, how did you get that job? And it's not like they have this major for an account manager at Envestnet MoneyGuide. So I would say that focus on the things that you're interested in and the things that you're good at. Like public speaking is a great one for any one of us, maybe not Jordan's role because he's at the computer most of the day, but public speaking, if you want to do any kind of like sales or training or anything like that, even HR, being able to be confident with, speaking to other people and speaking in front of other people, that's something that is a challenge for a lot of people, but it's a great skill to have. And like for my role, I started on our support team 7 years ago. We don't have anybody represented here today on that team, but that was helping advisors learn the software and answering any technical questions that they have. So it's always good. Don't write off a job if you have to start in a different job that you may not want it, initially.
Yeah, and I started on that team as well, Jenny. I started on our client services team, answering phones and helping advisors. Megan, we got a question about what makes our company unique. Since you're in the office, you want to take that one?
Sure, absolutely. So one of my favorite things, honestly, about the company is the culture and really some of the activities and benefits that we get here. So some of the ones that I think are more interesting that, not a lot of companies get, we have, a food truck. And keep in mind, this is when we were in the office, but we had a food truck that came every month. We would always do monthly activities. So one time it was a chocolate making class. One time we did a cookie decorating class. So we have, really cool activities like that. And that allows us to get to know all of the other employees. I was actually a captain for our Paralympics team. So it's almost like a week-long field day event. We get massages here. And so I just think that, they put so much effort into building the company culture that it makes it a really fun place to work. And you find that, a lot of people like you end up kind of working here and you find a lot of commonalities. And there's been a lot of people that have built a lot of great friendships. So for me, that's probably one of the more unique things that I've enjoyed most.
Someone asked about any financial literacy or money tips for high schoolers. I would definitely say just learning about budgeting, not saying that your budget is telling you what you can't do, but seeing your budget as you telling your money what you want it to do. So even if you just have a part-time job, knowing what you want that money to do, setting some aside for your goals, knowing what you're going to spend, what you're going to save, maybe doing your giving to your community or your church. So just telling your money where to go, where you want it to go versus looking at the end of the month and saying, where did my money go? You probably I probably ate it or I'm probably wearing it. So being intentional about your money with budgeting and staying away from credit cards as long as possible. They are no longer allowed to market on college campuses. They used to do that, but just being aware of credit cards, being aware of all those fees, it can very quickly get you into debt. Like we saw with 50 Cent, having that negative net worth. We don't want that. And just be mindful of your student loans. When you're looking at colleges, look at the full holistic financial aid package. If you don't have to go into a lot of student loan debt, don't, because you're going to have to pay for that years and years into the future. So those are some financial literacy tips I'd share. Anybody else want to add any?
I would just chime in and say, don't be afraid. Like, I think sometimes there's a thing where you feel like you have to do a 4-year university right off the bat. Don't be afraid to do 2 years at a community college and transition into the 4-year degree beyond that. It's a great way to save money and you still get the degree at the end of it. So if that's the track you feel like you're on, that's a great cost hack to just bring the cost of college down. I did that personally and I'm grateful I did. My college loans were half of what they could have been had I done all 4 years at a university.
And also don't feel like you have to know what you want to do when you're 18 years old, because I changed my major like 3 times. And looking back, I probably, in retrospect, may have done what Jordan did instead. Everybody's different.
Awesome. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'll go ahead and close it. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, they're just such an incredible company. When we heard that they have dogs all throughout the office, these weekly massages and all these different things, I think you can tell how unique they are and how culture and workplace environment is so important to them. And they do such great things providing financial tips to people. And I think that that's really important, as we all know. So thank you all so much. That was a great presentation. And so on behalf of JA, I want to thank all the students and teachers that are with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you learned a lot and enjoyed it. And a big thank you to Envestnet MoneyGuide, of course, for hosting the event and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with the students and teachers. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you all join us for the next JA Job Shadow with the Charlottesville Police Department, featuring a forensic specialist. And that one is on May 4th at 11 o'clock. So please join us if you're interested. And we hope you have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.